Chapter 2, Imperial Ship and Mirror. Boy, I'm glad that this stupid situation is finally over, Washa said as she looked at Mikomo's grave. It had been a month since he was buried there. She had waited as she told Tama she would. Mikami was there and told her about how the GP and Galaxy Army was being restructured. Nikita and Tama are currently relieved of their duties. Nikita seems relaxed now that he's been freed from the burden of public affairs. He has a lot more time to spend with Mitoto now. With his newly found good mood, I wouldn't be surprised if Mihoshi ends up with another sibling soon. Oh ho 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 ho. Public office is so burdensome, don't you agree, Mikomo? She said to the young boy standing with Mikomo's nurse. His shape was different, but he was still Washu's son, Mikumo. Miyuki is long gone and has been for around 10,000 years. You can imagine my surprise when I heard that my mother was wrapped up in a weird romantic comedy situation on the earth. I don't know what you expected, I've been single for 20,000 years. I never thought I'd live this long, and I never expected to end up the head of the family. I'm glad to finally be free of all the commotion, the young man said, clinging to the nurse. The nurse seemed uncomfortable before Washu, or rather before her mother-in-law. It's ironic, I've finally got you out of that situation only to lose you to another woman. She remembered how Neija comforted her after she left Mikumo on Senoa with Miyuki and Koyori over 20,000 years ago. If Neija was here now, she'd burst out laughing at the situation. Washa hugged the two lovers. Be happy, she whispered to them. Long time no see. It's been a long time, Sena greeted his roommates Kenneth and Rijo. They began to catch up and after a while they tried to convince him to break out of the dorm with them again for another night on the town. Fortunately, they were interrupted when Eri called Sena to her office without explanation. I'm here. Good, let's go. Eri took him by the arm and proceeded to a nearby long-distance warp pad. The next thing he knew, he was on the Mikagami. Why was I called here? Sena stuttered. Before him sat Azusa, Sito, Misaki, and Funaho. What? Didn't Eri explain? Oh, sorry, I forgot. We've called you because our investigation into ZINV is complete, said Eri. Can we begin now? Azusa asked. Yes, father. Eri said to Azusa. Images of ZINV were displayed. Because ZINV regenerated, we weren't able to properly analyze its age, so instead we analyzed the space it was housed in and found that it is over 1 billion years old. A billion? Yes, and luckily for us, there was a living witness inside from the era named D. According to D's testimony, it was a spaceship that was buried in the ruins. There is no doubt that it was buried by what we call the Great Prehistoric Civilization, but ZINV itself was said to be from a civilization before that. Before that? But the prehistoric civilization itself was a civilization that spanned quite a long time. The testimony of D is surprising to us, and we will probably be following up with D on it for a long time. But we know that ZNV was initially not a humanoid. Similar to Jurai, it seems that it was built in the shape of a ship. For those who were forced out of their star system, they changed its shape to make it a target of faith to the indigenous people who lived on the planet they migrated to. Because God is a thing common to many religions, they thought making it a humanoid would make it likely to be perceived as a symbol of God. Azusa acknowledged. But there was a civil war between the immigrants. Both sides annihilated each other, and after that the civilization of the indigenous people eventually advanced and discovered the ruins of the immigrants and their technology and used it to advance into space. Did they end up becoming the prehistoric civilization? In a way, yes, and the planet where Sena discovered ZINV was the birthplace of the prehistoric civilization. We never expected to find such a thing in such a place. It's a very historical discovery, Sito said. It's a big deal, especially at the Academy. When it is announced, Sena will definitely have a place in history. In terms of the history of the Earth, it was like discovering America or proving the Earth was round. Oh! It's also a big discovery for Jurai. How? This is ZINV's internal structure. The monitor image changed to an internal perspective drawing. Eri expanded it. There's a compact unit in its chest, inside the cockpit part. Sena, do you know what this is? Well, yeah, when I was in there, it ejected from ZINV for a moment during the battle. There is nothing like an energy generator inside ZINV, and there is a computer unit, but it is not the thing controlling ZINV. It is, so to speak, a subsystem. If it ejected, then there's no mistake. Yes, that unit is an imperial tree, which apparently seems to have had its growth cycle stunted. It is age-fixed. An imperial tree, generating light hawk wings and linking with the Kamedake and demonstrating a tremendous power. What did you think it was? No way, I thought. But ZINV is more than 1 billion years old? Jurai isn't that ancient. Misaki spoke. Well, just like D, we also have an ancient living witness. We asked Tsunami to explain. She said that about 1 billion years ago, a human came to Jurai, just as we did, and she gave them 2 seeds. It seems that the one in that unit is one of them. Mother, then does that mean that ZINV is a first-generation tree? Misaki asked. Mikagami, who was present at the scene, and Kariko's ship seemed quite confused. There's no confirmation, but probably. Azusa's words were a little confused. I'm worried that there's been no confirmation. Is it because the seed is age-fixed? Inside the unit is a highly secure black box that we can't disassemble. Even if we examine it in detail, we can't open it, but the deterioration of the outer shell part is bad. So, we can see into it, but the outer shell is divided into several layers, and there is a considerable difference in each layer's age. Someone coated the seed, which means that during the prehistoric civilization, the inside could not be tampered with. We had no other choice but to fix the seal up, but it's natural that the black boxes are deteriorating. Is it dangerous? What if it separates from the main body? It's no problem. I wish that were the only issue though. Sito said and immediately turned towards Seina for a change of mood. Seina. Yes. As you heard, ZINV is likely to be a first-generation imperial tree. Do you know what that means for you? What? Azusa was uncomfortable with Seina's puzzled reaction. Seina, do you not understand what that means? Oh, it finally clicked for Misaki. Hey, Seina, you know ZINV sees you as its master, don't you? That's what Dee said. The Jurai royal family establishes a mastership contract with the imperial tree by the tree selection ceremony, and only the royal family of Jurai can do the ritual. Although there are some exceptions to ownership of imperial trees, people other than the royal family can't do the ceremony. Am I going to have to let go of ZINV? Seina uneasily said. Not in regret, but because he felt acquainted with ZINV. Like part of him might be torn away from him. Sorry, I should explain. The master contract is not originated from the royal family, but from the will of the royal trees. Since ZINV acknowledged you as a master, it is absolute. Even the jury and empire can't oppose it. The intention of the trees is absolute in power. In other words, Seina, you have the right to be a member of the royal family of Jurai since you were chosen by ZINV. The royal family of Jurai? Actually, you are now third in line for the right of succession to the throne of Jurai. What? Seina said with surprise. It took a few minutes of silence before Seina understood the matter. Oh well, that is surprising. Your royal tree is of the highest generation except the first tree, Tsunami. All other trees have to listen to its orders as long as the life of their master is not exposed to danger. If any secret is requested, it has to divulge them to you. Nothing is confidential to you, and nothing that can be known as classified is a crime to know. So those who became the master of the first generation are eligible to become Jurai's chief ruler. Of course, since the trees choose the right man without mistakes, we have absolute trust in them. There's no previous precedent for an outside person to become the master of a first-generation tree, and in your case, you also have the Kamedake, so it might be possible to establish a new royal line in Jurai. A new royal line? The 4 imperial houses will be 5. The imperial family of Jurai will have a new branch, the House of Yamada. Seina kept silent. Eri, if it's not too much trouble, we need to talk alone after this. I understand. Oh, yes, we can't forget about how Katsuhito is going to feel about this. Fortunately, I don't think he is one to care, and I'm sure the Women's Council of Masaki Village won't be too upset since Seina is an important child of the village. Oh, even so, Azusa turned and looked away. Eri left on the transport pad. Funaho approached Seina. There is an important story I need to tell you. Please bear with me. We brought you here to talk to you like this because you need to know the secret of the royal trees. The secrets of royal trees. Sena realized he could not turn back from this point after coming here. He decided to accept any facts and circumstances he was told. Azusa felt this. Did you feel something when you got inside ZINV? Especially when you fought? Yes. I remember smelling the enemies. I especially remember smelling the malice of Tarrant. It was very vivid and disgusting. I see. After that, I felt so violent that I was surprised by myself. Sito, what do you think? Perhaps that's why they age-fix the larvae. The function of the black box is also worrisome, but, well, the characteristics of the royal tree are undoubtedly there. Is that a characteristic of the royal trees? Yes, it is sensitive to the negative feelings of people, especially sensitive to the deaths of people. And it definitely feels its partner's feelings. They don't like to fight. They will not fight besides defending, but if we want, it will fight. But both the tree and the master can be hurt by such a thing if things go wrong. As long as its master is going easy and it remains in good health, they will be fine. But if they exceed a certain amount of force, it can disable both of them. Currently my ZZZ is well known enough that no one puts up a fight, but the first time I did it, it was bad. Sito looked up at Mikagami, which could be seen in the east. After nearly annihilating almost 1,000 fleets, some of the leaves of the Mikagami died from necrosis, the nerve light wouldn't come out and I could no longer control the ship. I was put in a coma and had a mental disorder for about a year. Even now, sometimes I have nightmares that the condition has returned, but Mikagami has been a bit more resilient. But what if she wasn't? The trees could die and the master may die from the shock from that. The younger trees are more resistant to overexertion and depending on the master there is considerable difference in tolerance levels. Were Kuriko and Mizuki okay when we were fighting the Daruma? Well, no one died at the time, so there was no problem, and Mizuki-chan is fortunate to be a young tree. But if it was an adult tree, Mizuki might have had feedback and caused Kuriko to become sick in the mind. Sito went into battle even knowing that. Don't worry, I set up protection measures, that's why I did the link experiment with the Kamedake. Ryooki has properties similar to royal trees. 700 years ago, there was almost no psychological fluctuation among them when it happened, so I tried to take advantage of that. I set it up, so you attacked with the Kamedake and Mizuki only worked defense. And I know it's just luck, but it worked out fine. Well, clearly it was a gamble. Azusa said the thing Sena couldn't bring himself to say. Of course, if it seemed dangerous, I was planning to stop the experiment. It was just unexpected to melee with the big Daruma in the first place. But thanks to the valuable data collected during that fight, and the difference between the linked data of the Kamedake and ZNV, we should make some great progress in figuring out how to prevent that from happening. Huh? Did you find something? The details need to be verified, but there are some interesting things in common. There is a similar phenomenon that happened according to you, like the violent rage. There was also tendency for Ryoko to experience this when she is partnered with Ryooki. Do you mean violent, fighting instincts are involved? Or it might be something in the brain that is secreted during a fight. We don't know yet, but that might be the key to solving the problem. But Sena unexpectedly raised his voice. Everyone looked at him. No, that's not good enough. Even if the problem is resolved, I don't want Fuku and the royal trees to fight too much. Oh! Sena's words raised an upsurge on the spot. He cried out like a father wanting his kids not to get into fights. At that time, Misaki, who was sandwiched between Sito and Azusa, jumped over to Sena in tears. I'm sorry, but that's right. Sena is right. It's impossible for us to make them do such things. Misaki hugged the confused Sena. Hey, Misaki-chan. Calm down. Funaho asked Misaki to calm down, but she still stuck to Sena like a mother dog protecting her puppy. As Sena said, even if there is no hindrance to fighting, we should avoid fighting itself as much as possible, especially since a royal ship is too high in fighting power. Keep in mind that the story has changed a lot, but there is a big reason for the monopolization of the royal trees by the royal family of Jurai. Which is, of course, the fact that it has the power to demolish other countries. It would be a disaster if another country bonded with the trees and made them fight each other. Not to mention the trees had enough power to permanently ruin their surroundings. But what if Sena became the leader of the imperial family? He wondered what could happen between nations if things went wrong. You don't have to. You don't even have to say it, there's no pressure. You're still young, it is still early for you, but don't give up the possibility. Sena came to tears at Azusa's words. Eventually Yosho will quit playing around on the earth. It won't even be an issue for at least 1,000 years, or even 2,000 years, but don't forget what kind of power is being dealt with here. Yes, I understand. Thank you. Well then, are we done? I have something I need to talk to Sena about alone. Sito said. That's fine, I'll see you later. Azusa momentarily relaxed his expression. Now, let's go. Oh! Misaki asked. All right, let's go. Funaho said. She pulled Misaki from Sena and they left. So, what did you want to talk about? Sena asked. Wait a bit, they will be here soon. Shortly after Sito said that, wait, have you finished talking? Kisu Panta appeared. You're already drinking? We're supposed to be celebrating, I couldn't wait. Kisu smelt of liqueur and approached with a bit of a hula motion and sat down firmly next to Sena. What Kisu was wearing was an evening dress of Jurian design embroidered in jet black thread, the kind one would attend an evening party in. The scent of refreshing fruit drifted from her like a perfume. Sena scurried away from Kisu in a panic, but the label of the drink bottle she had caught his eye. Oh! Sena said unconsciously. After all, the label of the liquor was similar to the label of the juice using Imperial Tree's fruit, which Sena had earned from Sito. The liquor bottle was almost empty and there were no glasses nearby to be found. In other words, Kisu was drinking an entire bottle of Shinju sake. Hey, how about it, Sena? How about you try some? I know it seems like a little, but this amount can buy an entire island. I don't have a glass, so I guess we'll just have to be indirectly kissing, but I've kissed you directly before so it's no big deal, right? Sito pulled Sena away from her. Kisu moved to a position opposite Sito and sat down a bit stooped over. Quit it. Why is she here? And suddenly before Sena's eyes Kisu changed her appearance to that of Sito. He quickly looked at Sito who was next to him, but there was no Sito there. But Sena quickly remembered that Kisu could transform. Kisu, stop joking. You're totally in trouble. Kisu's voice came from next to Sena this time. When he looked next to him, there was Kisu Panta, not Sito in the clothes that Sito wore. Sena looked back and forth at them. Kisu? Is two people? It was natural to think that there were two Kisus. Sorry, that's not quite it. The two said simultaneously. Well, maybe twins, you are twins, or wait. Or, is this because she is a shadow warrior? Your answer is half correct. A shadow warrior is an imposter who imitates someone's figure. But I have the same memory and the same abilities. We call it a mirror warrior. Even if the original dies, a mirror warrior has the ability to take over everything as the original. Yes, the Sito next to Sena said. That is, it's not a fake but rather a mirror. We've used our Kisu and Sito forms to sneak around and get things done ever since the first time I activated the ZZZ. When she was traumatized by Mikagami and was hospitalized for a half-year with mental illness. At that time the situation in the Galactic Federation wasn't exactly stable. Jurai was also brought into distress when conflict with the Shank Guild intensified, and they sent many spies in to gather information from us. It would have been a big problem if Sito, the head of the fleet, collapsed at such a time. Is that why you have a mirror warrior? Kisu Panta is very effective. Besides strategy purposes, it was a nice change of pace. I think you can understand, Sena. Imagine how you would feel if today you could just become a stranger and walk outside freely without anyone batting an eye. That sounds nice. It was annoying to him and embarrassing when people stared at him, and he disliked it. On the Earth he was used to getting the evil eye because of bad luck, and he was glad that the intent in the stares was reversed after going out into space, but he still didn't like it. But how can you tell such a serious secret to me? Am I going to be locked up? Hold your mouth, or maybe you want me to do it for you? Sito's eyes shined, and she blew him a kiss. Mirror Sito put her hand over his mouth to block it. I'm relieved that we could tell you this thing because you became a first-generation master. Azusa knows and we will tell Yosho later, but I don't want to tell him just yet. So, only 3 people know. Sana, you can see most of my secrets through the first-generation tree. But you could have just not said anything. I don't make it a hobby to peek into other people's private lives, and I couldn't imagine such a thing in the first place. Oh! Sana, you scratched the mirror, so I figured I'd let you know the facts properly and take responsibility. What's a scratch? What did I do? Sana turned pale and looked at the mirror Sito. You do not have to worry because it's just a drunken idiom, but it's a fact that I wanted you to know. I wanted you to recognize me as myself. As yourself? Actually, we share the same memory. When I'm active as Sito, it's the same as when we are in the form of Kisu, but recently there was a slight difference because of us. There are things that we don't know on both sides. Difference? Sana compared the mirror with Sito. Naturally, there were no differences found there. I met you once when you were little. Really? I forgot completely about it, but the memory of that time was not shared with Sito. No, I didn't share it more accurately. Why did such a thing happen? Maybe it's due to the bias of Sana's probability bias, but that memory caused an ego to be born in the mirror's heart. I'm not Sito, and that is because of you. I'm glad now, but at first, I was sad, and that may be why I suppressed that memory. Sad? The mirror can only live as me, Kamiki Sito Ejurai, unless I find a key for the mirror. There are only 4 cases in the long history of jury and royalty that has happened by a miracle that is absolutely unknown. A key that cannot be obtained unless a miracle happens. There is no possibility for a mirror, it is only good as a mirror. It is meaningless for it to give its own future even a thought. Even so, I know that my ego was born in your memory. Even if you couldn't find me, I found you. So, I don't want anything more. I was happy, I thought it was enough. But the problem is the difference between me and the mirror. If Sana was on Earth, that wouldn't be a problem, but you miraculously got a ticket to the universe, and even more differences arose around when you came to Jurai, and it caused a big enlargement of the ego of the mirror. At the same time increasing the differences between us. It's still okay, but someday, someone who knows me well, or another country who is good at gathering information and analyzing it will notice that there's a difference. Someday the advantage of being 2 people, for Sito, will be lost. And that's my fault. Haha, well Sana, it took 2 differences to cancel it, but partially. That is why I was drinking this, and why there's only a little left. Sito waved the sake bottle, and when he noticed the slight drops left there, she lifted the drink bottle to her mouth. It felt a bit unnatural, but if that drop might be worth the price of a small city, it made sense. Don't you think you're qualified as a first-generation master? After all, you reduced the threat of the space pirates dramatically. That in and of itself lightened the burden of leading this country. After she told me, I said I'd take responsibility for Sana. Well, you're responsible? So that is it, you gave an ego to the mirror. Something that was different from what it reflected, like scratching it. Sito went around the desk and approached Sana and sat down on the other side of the mirror. So, what kind of responsibility will you take? Please go over there, Mirror Sito said, and she pushed Sito away. Sito got up and turned away as if she was cranky. Hey Sana. Mirror Sito came to Sana with a whisper. Can you name me? What? Name? I am not a mirror anymore. A name is necessary for me to exist as myself. A name gives meaning to a person. It has to be just right. If you find a good name and feel it is appropriate, then please come to me with it. Is that the responsibility? Yes. The facial expression of Mirror Sito was exactly like Fuku. There was neither the intimidation nor dignity of the usual Sito. There was only a gentle lady's figure. I understand. I'll think about it. Later, after Sana left. I understand what's going on. Feel free to say what's on your mind. I'll wait forever, even 1,000 years or 1,000,000 years. Sana already has the key. One day it will surely happen. Mirror Sito said with an enchanted look. Oh ho ho. I'm sorry. If I seem jealous, it is because someday that pretty face of yours will be taken from me. Are you worried I might try to get in the way for a while? Even though I have my own ego, I'm still your mirror. I know what you are trying to do, and that is what is best for Sana. Are you threatened? There's no reason why the hero who just started his journey should be feared by a monster from the last level. You're right, let's wait till the hero gets more experience. Before that though, how about we finish that other bottle? Mirror Sito said, noticing that Sito had hidden a bottle behind her the whole time, and so the two girls began drinking.